everyone. Truly, it's a blessing to be here with you and to talk about a subject that is very dear to my heart. And our topic we're going to be delving into today is the effects of sugar on the body. But I'll add a caveat to that, and it is the effect of too much sugar on the body. And true to, I couldn't resist this, Bishop. I couldn't resist getting this model because it goes with what the objective that he has.
I didn't want to disturb you, but I'm going to take a quick peek because I'm serious about us knowing all the information we can need so we can age gracefully. So I'm going to take a quick peek, or anybody in the hall, and I'm going to get in. Because what we're trying to do, what God wants me to do, is to make us whole. And
yes.
If you don't know it, you're not going to do any better. You'll be sick. So,
okay, so as he does that, we're going to see in our discussion that day, and this is a model that beautifully allows us to see the effects of too much sugar on the body. It really does affect us. And so we want us to just think about health, wholeness, and we know that under the plan of salvation, we have deliverance, we have rescue, we have the spiritual man being made new, but physically we can say we can claim wholeness of mind, body, soul, and spirit. All of those areas of our lives, and they're so intertwined and interconnected that we need to, for us to make wise health care and wellness decisions, we need to begin to exercise some control over all of those areas. And so our goal is, we didn't get where we are overnight, did we? We didn't. If you get nothing out of what I'm saying to you today, let's covenant. Let's contract with one another that we're going to work to stay healthy together.
Yeah.
That we're going to stay healthy together. We're going to be checking in on one another. You know, maybe next year we can say, well, how did you all do in some area of health where you say, I'm going to target that. So these are the points I want you to think about. Let's do it together. Here are some wellness tips to get started. Aim small. I can't say that I'm going to accomplish all of this in a week, a month, whatever. But let's start small. Let's start small because we don't want to be overwhelmed by it. Oh, this is hard. This is difficult. You know, Stuart makes very good, he's a good cook, period. But he makes the best peach cobblers. Woo! peach cobbler. And I said, well, I have some warm peach cobbler. Ooh, what about some ice cream? Do we have some ice cream to go on it? Okay? Nothing wrong with me splurging once in a while. But what I'm saying is, don't let it become a habit where you're craving, you're addicted to that sugar. And you can become addicted to carbs and that sugar. And before you know it, the brain is craving it, the body is craving it, and you're all out there. Perfect example. Prior to my last physical exam, I don't know why, I developed a taste for pastries, things that were warm, and I was baking bread. And normally I don't eat, Bishop Turner, I don't eat my bread. I'll take one roll out of all of that bunch just to see if it meets my standard. One roll out of each batch, because I make them in such large quantities. One roll. But I said, boy, this bread is good. I had loaves in the freezer, and I was heating up bread, butter, jam. And I went back to the doctor, and sis, it showed. My labs were really off. And I knew. So I know that it's not something you're going to have to do once in a while. We're talking about lifestyle changes. Aim small. If it's walking, get out there and walk. If it's yoga, whatever it is for you, incorporate that. Consistency is the key, isn't it? I can't do it once in a while, but it should be on a regular basis. So I'm going to set goals. I'm going to start small with milestones. I'm going to celebrate them. But I want it to be a part of my daily routine, to form a habit. So what I've started was, when I was working, I really wasn't into walking. And so now, my form of exercise, in addition to the other areas we're going to talk about, is getting up early in the morning and walking. And not only is that helping me physically, but it's mentally, it's mindfulness, where I'm in the presence of the Lord. It's not a lot of traffic out. So it's all of that. And so I tried to do it on a consistent basis, every day up. And so it's accomplishing 3 or 4 things at one time. Eating a balanced diet is key. Drinking plenty of water, fruits and vegetables, lean protein, whole grain, herbs and spices. With us, and I drink coffee. I love good coffee. But I don't put sugar in it. I don't use those little hazelnut creamers and all of the other that have. I wanted just a little dot of cream. Okay, so I don't use those in it. Getting physical, we talked about that. Get physical. Quality rest. You know, we have so many things that cause distraction. We have to find a way to shake these things off. Lately, how many of you came in today and you've been following world situation? Right. It's hard to watch the news and lie down and rest. You have to find a way of letting go of all of that you're taking in, that you're bombarded with during the day. You know, even if it's before you go, limit your a TV viewing, limit the screen time. Go outside and say, Father, it's dark out there. Take a deep breath. I release it to you. I cannot solve this problem. So you have to find a way before you try to go to bed and sleep, and to not be tossing and turning. Stay social. Stay engaged. Practice mindfulness and decreasing stress and all of the other things. This is the goal. If I find something on here that you're going to incorporate in your life and be consistent. Work at it. Work at it. We're going to see that with our model, the whole man, if everything is not in balance and everything is not working together, if I have dis-ease or dysfunction in one area of my body, it's going to affect all of it.
That's right.
It's going to affect all of it. I tell you this year, and knowing your family history, and we're talking about too much sugar and the effects of too much sugar and mindfulness when you do decide to pick up a snack. What snack are you picking up? Is key. So understand that. But in my family, I can share this with you. Knowing your history, is so important. What's there in the genes? What's there in the DNA that has been passed down to many generations? And every generation has had a heart attack, a stroke, or whatever.
That's right.
Has diabetes, adult onset diabetes, and all of the other. This year, I tell you, it seemed like a Job moment with the calls coming. And I've shared this. Young people in my family. Now, we in our family, and I can share this, has a history of hypertension,
All right.
diabetes. Mother had 2 strokes. Okay. Obesity, to a certain extent. Obesity. And got calls. A niece in her 50s in Texas, massive stroke.
My.
Found down by her daughter, who was getting up to go to school, found her mom on the floor. Don't know how long she had been there. Did CPR, but the miracle, we stood and I saw her a couple of weeks ago. But a massive stroke at that age. And while she was in the hospital, arrested twice. One episode was 7 minutes of them doing that. We're talking about young people. Another young, a nephew up in the Bay Area. I got a call from my sister. Now he's juvenile diabetic with all of the complications. Young people diagnosed with diabetes, it's hard for them to be compliant with their instruction. As a result, developed all of the organ system damage. Got a call from my niece. He decided they had started amputations, and he decided that he wanted hospice. In his 40s, did accept hospice. And the Lord was just with him and took him home. Okay, another heart problem in the family. So take this seriously. Take your health seriously. Begin to incorporate something that you can do on a regular basis that can extend, prolong, maybe reverse some of the damages that have already been started. It's never too late to begin to do some of these things. And it's choices. We know we love good food. Ooh, we love good soul food. We love our soul food. Nothing's wrong with soul food, but you look at how you prepare that soul food. Look at preparations. What can you do to enhance the taste, to bring out the flavor where you're not getting so much sugar and salt, there you go, and salt and fats and butter and all of the other things that taste good to us. Okay, all of the other things that taste good. And we want to start now. If you have children and grandchildren in your home, don't buy it. Don't get them in the habit, especially when they're young. Because they're not going to get it in the home unless you bring it there.
Right.
You're the one that's buying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you have young grands, then don't get them started on cold cuts.
Ooh.
Don't get them started on chips and all of the other things that are in the home that it's easier for them to run in the cupboard and get. And don't do that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say that we're going to make a conscious decision. We're talking about sugar. Is sugar a model? The effects of long-term sugar intake affects, if we look at our little model, the brain. Long-term, it's going to affect the brain. Too much that's not controlled. The eyes. The mouth. The teeth and so forth. If we take off the little organs, if we take off his sternum and his rib cage, the organs that are affected, it goes all the way down to the feet, the bones, the muscles, the kidneys, the heart, the digestive system, all of them, long-term damage to the nerves and the blood vessels. That's why you get the strokes, the heart attacks, the accumulation of plaque inside, the atherosclerosis and all of the other that affects. Just too much, excessive. The body couldn't handle it all. So yes, we do need glucose, right? Yes. The body does. The body does. The body needs glucose. Why does it need it? It needs it for energy. and growth. The cells that come together and make up tissues and tissues organ. If you looked at that cell, the mitochondria, the powerhouse in the cell, it needs that sugar to carry on the metabolic processes, to give us the energy so I can stand up here and move and all of the other things. So my body does need sugar. It needs it. But there is a fine line there. Okay, so I need sugar. The body, the brain especially, needs sugar. You need sugar, and sugar is a molecule, and it helps us survive. And it's the main energy source. And we get our sugar from carbohydrates. The body breaks down the carbohydrates, and the pancreas secretes the insulin that breaks down, and it's carried into the cell and into the bloodstream. That's okay. That's okay. So there's a problem if there's too much. Hyperglycemia, diabetes. Hypoglycemia, not enough. You know, have you ever been standing, you didn't eat, and maybe it's a stressful day? I remember when I was in nursing school and I was on a limited budget and I hadn't eaten, and they had me observe a procedure. And I tell you, the little nurse got lightheaded, a little dizzy, you know, seeing stars a little bit, had to quickly sit down before I fell down. Blood sugar dropped. Blood sugar dropped. So hypoglycemia. Okay. The body can also get glucose from the liver, because if you take in too much sugar, our bodies are amazing. Oh, God created us in such a way. If you take in too much, the body can store the excess in the liver as glycogen. How many of you like liver? I do too. Mildred, I do too. I like liver. And do you know why? That liver tastes, maybe, you can tell the difference. If you're a connoisseur of liver, you can tell when it's sweet. You know, it has a little sweetness to it.
That's right.
That's that glycogen.
Okay.
That's in the liver, that's stored there, that can be released if I'm not taking it in. So that's another way I can get it. The sugar. And also in the muscles. Okay. And we know about the pancreas. And the reason why we said that glucose metabolism is important, is that our brains are very sensitive to sugar, and it needs that comes from the glucose. Okay, so we've established the fact that sugar is not our enemy. So it's the amount that we're taking in. And so we have to be mindful of that. Okay, so for females, they say that we can have a 2,000 calorie diet, 2,000 cal diet My sugar should be no more than, say, 90 grams. That's not a lot. If you start looking at these charts of some of the sugar in a candy bar, you say, wait a minute. Oh, okay. Fat. Okay. They said a male can have what? About 2,500 is the is the recommended dietary intake of that nutrient. And sugar should be about 120 grams. Fat for a male, 95. For a female, 70. Saturated fat. And salt. Oh, salt. For a male, about 6 grams. And for a female, now this is healthy. Now, if your doctor has you, if you're hypertension, and he says to you, I want you to limit your sodium to, say, 1,200 or whatever. Right. Hey, and a fourth of a teaspoon of salt is already about 500. Wait a minute. You can easily exceed. So you really have to be mindful of. And so what we're saying is, what we're saying is, you need the carbs, you need the fat, you need the minerals, the protein, the vitamins, plenty of water. But it's the excess that's doing us. Yes, yes. And so now it is required that our food and packaging be labeled. That it be labeled. But have you taken the time to look at the label? You know, processed food is our enemy. Processed food, fast food is really the thing that is doing us harm. And have you noticed, they're telling us, well, they're diagnosing colorectal cancers in a younger patient population. Right. You know, I mean, they're doing research. But before I stopped, I told Stuart, I worked in oncology, in chemotherapy administration. And this was before I retired. And I told Stuart and some of his partners, I said, Stuart, do you know what is alarming to me now? What I'm seeing more colorectal cancers in a younger patient population, in males, and primarily men of color. And that was like a red flag for me, because the textbook was still saying that this is a diagnosis that you see later in a more mature male. Already it was started. So now they're telling us the rates of breast cancer is going up in women. They're being diagnosed at a younger age. And colorectal cancers, heart disease in a younger population. So could it possibly be related to the effects of diet. Diet. Starting out, if you go to, you see, I go to McDonald's sometime in the morning and I sit there with my coffee. And I watch families come in and they're buying McDonald's for their children for breakfast. They're buying fast food and the sugary drinks. So you get that same child and you sit them down at the table and you have a well-balanced, prepared meal with all of the fruit groups. Do you think that child's going to want to eat what you have cooked? If he hasn't been introduced to it. You sit him down and you give him a piece of meat, some veggies, a carb or grain or whatever. The likelihood. So it starts early. So we have to be mindful about what we're serving. Okay, I thought this was just great. I enjoy Snickers. Am I alone? No. Look at this. The total fat, okay, the calories not so much, 250, but that, if I'm on a 2,000, I want to stay under, it's 250 per bar. And they must tell you, packaging must tell you the nutrients, if any, and the content. One bar, 250 calories. Total fat, 12 grams. 12 grams. Okay, if I look up here, okay, as a female, I can have 70 grams already. 12 of my grams have gone. Trans fats, none. Cholesterol, less than 5. Sodium, 125. So milligrams. So if my doctor, if I'm hypertension, and I am, and I'm on medication, and I'm compliant, I'm at the doctor's office. I'm doing everything that I can, and that's still with that history, but hey, sodium, 125. Total carbs, 32 grams of carbs. 32 grams of carbs. This one doesn't give me my carbs, but we want our carbs to be much lower. It's 12% of the daily value. The fiber is what's good for us. The fiber no, that's nothing. Yeah, no, that's nothing. Total sugar, and look at the added sugar. That's what you want to, when you start looking at, when you start looking at packaging of your food, are they adding sugar to it? And Carol, I'm going to quickly let her. She's going to, but it's that added sugar that's doing us harm. That's doing us harm. And a negligible a protein probably gotten from the nuts in this, the 4 grams. Okay, in this one. What I was looking at, how many of you like breads? Are you bread eater? Okay, good. Good, you're bread eaters. Okay, good. I found this, and it's quite tasty. I had to develop a taste for it, but it's a good substitute. It's Carb Master, and they have keto-friendly breads. How many of you have seen these? They're really good. And it's quite tasty. At first I said, Omega, this is nothing but cardboard. But I said, no. Change your thinking. Mm-mm. No. This is good bread. And so with this, okay, and you can find it in all of your stores. Panera makes one. Most of your bakeries make them. They're keto-friendly. It only has 4 grams. You can get it as low as 1 gram of carb per slice. 1 gram. This one is 4 grams. This is low. When you think about a size of the slice, we like the wheat bread. What's the name of it, Stuart? But I get it, and it's like 70 to 75 grams of carbs per slice. This is 4 grams. But the good thing is it's 9 grams, but this is how they figure it. It has 5 grams of dietary fiber. You need the fiber. And so because it has the fiber in it, it decreases, like you said, the carb down to 4. It cut it in half. You need the fiber for your gut health. For gut health. For gut health. This is, and I brought some, and I want you all to take a slice. Have it with your lunch, and be open. Be open. This is good for me. This is good for me. This is good for me. Okay. So this is something if you like a piece of toast in the morning and you want to include that. Let me show you one other thing. It's almost, oh yes. I don't know why I developed a taste for top ramen. No, I was in college. I didn't even have the money.
We thought it was healthy a long time ago.
I didn't have the money, so I wasn't buying top ramen. And so I don't know why I developed a taste for top ramen. This is the worst. Oh, let me tell you. Okay, and this is, now do you think this is a container that has how many servings in it? Somebody take a guess. How many servings? Yes, it's 2. This little packet, that's where they get you. It's 2 servings. I'm not going to split it. I'm not going to split it. No. It is 2 serving. It's okay. So it's 307. She likes them too.
No, what I do if I use it, I just add maybe a little half than the packet. I don't use the whole packet.
Okay, you're good. Yes, you are. You're good. The fat is 14 grams in the package. But this is where I want to go. Is the sodium. It's the sodium. This, like Leona was saying, she splits the packet to get half of the sodium, which is 760. But if I eat, and I eat the whole package, but I've stopped. 15, 20 milligrams. I've blown it for the day. If I'm on, say, a 2,000 milligram sodium diet, I have blown it with this one. No fiber. It just doesn't have anything. Carbs, 27 grams. Half, that's half. If I eat the whole, it's 54. Good morning, come on. 54 grams.
I am guilty. I'm a ramen, but I get they got some that's vegetarian. They got vegetarian ramen. It's got less of.
How much?
I can't remember right now off the top of my head.
Does it have a little packet, a seasoning packet? Watch, look, that's where they get you, is with the seasoning packet. With the seasoning packet. But it's quick, it's easy, you know, and I enjoyed it. And I thought I was doing something. I knew I wasn't, but self-deception, right? Self-deception. And I would cut up fresh vegetables in it and put a little meat in it and thought I was really doing something. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
But I can't say I don't eat a lot of it.
Yeah, I've stopped buying it. I've stopped. And so when I have a taste for some carbs, I'll take a pasta. I'll take a little bit of pasta and boil it and add to it. But this was like at work. You know, you just put some hot water with it and you can eat it on and go. Yeah. I want to do one more before. Oh. And we know we can't eat just one. we know we can't eat just one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be selling after the class. If you all need some snacks, a donation on the table is. Okay. 100, this little bag, 160 calories, 10 grams of your fat. Sodium 140. Sodium 140. And the total carbs are 15 grams of carbs. So if you have an open bag, a big bag, and you're just there, yeah, they know how to get us, don't they? And this is for most of your daily allowance for calories is like I said, for female is 2,000 a male. So you know you're hitting into this area. You're really, really this is the last one. Oh, yes. And then they'll tell you, say, oh, we bake it. Okay. So you're baking it now. Okay. They're baking it. This one is kettle style potato chips. Crispy and crunchy. And it is 210 per bag calories. 12 grams of fat. Sodium, 340. Carbs, 25 grams. 25 grams of carbs. So you can see how we're getting too much. And that's what I thank Sister Richardson for this topic. Too much is too much. Sugar, that is our enemy. Too much sugar. Yes, the body needs, but it's that excess that we're taking in because of processed food, how we're preparing food. And if you're adding to it, and you're adding honey and all of these other things, you're adding sugar to it. You're adding, and that's what we're saying that we want to begin to look at and to do something about. Plenty of water. You want the water to flush out and to aid in the digestion, but to flush out the impurities that are in the body. Look at the effects of, we were saying, the excess sugar over time, and we're saying this is over time. Okay, that excess. Okay, on the brain, excess sugar on the brain begins to affect the blood vessels that go up to the brain. It begins to affect the blood vessels and the nerves that go up too. So the body begins to put plaque in the blood vessels that lead up to the head. And so what happened? If there's a infarct or decreased circulation to an area of the brain, the stroke. How many of you have heard of a young person having a stroke? Most of us, look at all the heads being shaken. Young people, yes, that are having as a result of health. We know the eyes can be affected again, the nerves and the blood vessels that are so sensitive to changes, to fluctuations in glucose. It damages the nerves. That's why you see the blindness or the decrease in vision. The same is true for the heart. Blood vessels going to the heart are affected. The inside lumen of that vessel over time is affected. So you get the infarcts. I had two brothers in their 50s, massive heart attacks. Massive heart attacks. The one brother, the first one, was in his 50s. He took care of himself. Once he discovered that he needed to, he stopped smoking. He loved to golf and was always off on the golf course, playing golf. And he would go in to his doctor often, once he really made that decision. And he was getting up one morning to go into the office, And we know we could follow, he lived in Minnesota, and we could put together the picture of what happened. He had taken a shower and must have experienced chest pain. So what we're thinking was he opened the back door and the front door and went into the living room, sat down with his briefcase beside him, waiting for the paramedics. He'd already opened the doors, and he'd called 911, and when they got there, he was agonal breathing. He was already. Okay, so this is real to me. You know, you have to start whenever you have that awareness that this is something I need to embrace for the remainder of the days that I have. I can't do anything about the past because some of that damage is already there. But I can, from this day forward, make some better health care. And that's what we're talking about, making better health care, wellness, choices, decisions. Okay, so, yes, the liver we can get fatty liver from too much. That affects the health. Right under there is the pancreas. The kidneys are affected. Look at that. Bladder. Intestine. We know about going down if we had the chart, yes we do, of the circulatory system. How the nerves and the blood vessels are affected as it goes down the body. My nephew, he was on the transplant list he lived in the Berkeley area, and he was on the transplant list in his 40s, but then developed pancreatitis, developed other organ disease. Yes, and they took him off the list. They took him off the list because the organs were already damaged. Heart attacks, had a couple of heart attacks. And the last one was a stroke. A stroke. And they told him they would have to begin to amputate toes. So they amputated a toe and they amputated a finger. At that point, he said, "Mom, it is progressing." Mm-hmm. It's nothing really more they can do. He decided that he would stop dialysis and go hospice. Because of the extensive damage that was done. So, are they, after we conclude this portion, my sister has information too. Do you have any questions? You know, I want us to be healthy. The Lord wants to use all of us. Amen. He does. And my sharing with you might be what someone else needs to say, hey, I need to embrace this. Right. I need to embrace this for me so that the remainder of my days can be quality filled. Yes.
I do have a question. One of the things when you mentioned about history, knowing the history of the family, one of the things that had took my dad out was the ischemic stroke, and it was based on the plaque that had built up in his arteries. And when they went to do a bypass, they found out that his left side grew its own new ventricle, which was what was sustaining him. He was an avid golfer, exercised the whole 9 yards. But when they went to try to do a stent, a piece of the plaque lodged in his carotid artery and went up into his brain, and then that's where he got the stroke. So from then on there, it was it.
Yeah.
So one of the things, the question has to do with me now, at my age, I'll be 65 this year. I've started looking at those things that cause the plaque in your arteries and everything else. And so I've discovered 3 or 4 just different things to myself that are supposed to aid in helping to alleviate the plaque, such as some naturopathic areas. So my question has to do with, what is your take on using those naturopathic, like for instance, okra water, or what do you call it, that new one I just started doing? Cilantro water, different things like that that are supposed to eliminate and help cleanse the kidneys and bring the toxins out.
The
of you.
toxins
Right.
out.
Yeah. What's the take on really getting involved in those new naturopathic methods?
With respect to atherosclerosis that's building up cholesterol and plaque in the arteries, oftentimes too much cholesterol is a factor. So always address that primarily. Hypercholesterolemia or too much cholesterol is a driving factor. And in addition to that is an inflammatory process that goes along with that. Oftentimes diabetes is one of the driving factors. Glucose toxicity can be an inflammatory factor as well. With respect to homeopathic remedies, I don't have a good experience with that. I used to tell my patients, let's use the traditional therapy first, get things under control, then we'll check, and if you want to use some alternative things, and I see they're working, then we'll back off of the traditional. But I would go, if I know I have a family history of hardening of the arteries, as we call it, a buildup of cholesterol in my arteries, I'm going to maintain a good cholesterol, first of all, and I'm going to make sure that the inflammation in my body is well controlled, especially with my diabetes, and hypertension plays a significant role in that process as well. So in terms of plaque, a buildup, oftentimes plaque causes a problem because plaque builds up. It can damage it in 1 or 2 ways. It can block an artery, and also we found out that plaque, the hard plaque, can crack, and a clot builds up on top of the plaque, blocks the artery, and about, I would say, 50% of stroke is due to that plaque breaking, causing a liberation of substance into that artery that causes inflammation. If you get a foreign substance introduced into your bloodstream, your body's going to react to a foreign aid, and it's going to block that, come to protect that. And so plaque is a major contributor, to, so I would get my cholesterol under control, make sure any inflammation such as diabetes under control. So those are 2, and control my hypertension. Those are a couple of things I definitely would do. And then try my homeopathics. If I see where things are really under really good control, my cholesterol is under good control, and we can check your arteries. We can do scan of your carotid arteries. We can scan your vasculature peripherally, and see what is the state of your arteries. You have buildup of plaque, and there's a test that we can do. I'm sure many of you get a notice from Live Scan. You get that Live Scan notice where they check your carotid arteries for one, and they can check your peripheral arteries as well, and they'll let you know if you have a buildup of cholesterol in those arteries. Those are good tests to have.
Did that answer your question or give you?
And plus. Yes.
Oh, good. Yes.
Old school question. Back in the day, sitting at a breakfast table with 12 stacks of pancakes, butter, sausage, and bacon. Let's bow our heads, and we would ask the Lord, Lord, take out all the impurities from the food. My question is, does the Lord still take out those impurities from the food that we're not supposed to eat?
I tell you, the Lord gives us wisdom too. It's nothing wrong with you asking him to do that, but the Lord wants us to exercise wisdom. He gives us wisdom and knowledge and information. Lord, help me use this to make a wise decision. Maybe I won't eat the entire stack of the pancake, but maybe I'll eat one pancake. Maybe I'll eat one pancake. And instead of having both yes, I'll just do one. And then, brother, do you have a paper towel? And then sort of get as much of that fat out of that as you can. So it's hard. We've been brought up, we were brought up eating this way.
Bad doctor.
Couple of hands. I see you, Yolanda. Uh-huh.
My problem, I'm told my health is good, and that's the problem. I can eat anything that I want. My test comes back good. But listening to everything, see, I know if I keep doing that, I'm going to have a problem. So that is the problem for me.
Yeah.
And maybe others.
Yes.
You can't eat anything, seemingly, at this point. And so that's where sometimes I begin to get a little bit too stressful, knowing that I'm eating everything. I feel like I need to eat that whole bag of chips, and you're right, I can't eat just one. And then members who force peach cobblers and rolls on. I've heard it's in your home, but we got lovely members who know you can eat anything. So this is where I struggle. This is where I struggle. And this class here, it helps me.
Amen.
Because I can doesn't mean that I should.
Now there you go. There you go. That's it. Just because I can does not mean that I should.
Talk to the Lord. He tells me, those rolls look good, those candy bars
Oh,
look
good.
good.
Exactly. Yolanda.
I have a question about eggs. Some years ago, they suggested that you limit your eggs because of the cholesterol. Now I see on my Weight Watchers examples of meals, an example of a healthy plate. They have 2 boiled eggs cut up with some spinach and some, you know, some whatever. And so has that changed? You know, eggs got a bad rap at one time. Has that been, well, yeah. Has that been, you know, what's with it? Things change?
You don't hear that much now about the number that they're limiting you to. Stuart, have you heard anything lately in your reading that?
Well, you know, they tell you there's a good egg and a bad egg. As far as I'm concerned, there's only one egg. And if you have high cholesterol, you should limit your cholesterol. And therefore, I would be cautious about the number of eggs that I take. One good alternative is to buy the egg white, and instead of having, say, 3 eggs, do egg white and 1 egg. But I would still be very, especially if I have a history of high cholesterol, if I have a history of circulation problems that has an underlying cause of high cholesterol, limit your cholesterol in your diet. I would still do that, especially if you have hypertension, diabetes, those things. I would still limit the cholesterol in your diet. Eggs are not something that you want to have every day. I would say 2 or 3 times a week you want to have an egg for breakfast. There are so many other good alternatives. Like I say, your omelet, you can use your egg white, limited amount of egg yolk. The problem with the egg is the egg yolk. That's where your cholesterol comes from. So I would continue to be cautious about the number of eggs in your diet, especially if you have, you know, the hypertension and the heart disease and the diabetes and the other things associated with high cholesterol.
Good. Yes, my sister.
The test that was mentioned about checking for the plaque in your artery, was that the regular cholesterol test or is that a specific test? I missed the name of that
Oh, it's
test.
a different test. The name of the test for the.
Yeah, it's the test that they do to check your circulation. It's called, there's an organization called LiveScan. I know those of us in the Los Angeles area, we get frequent notice about LiveScan, but you don't have to pay extra money for LiveScan. If you have a primary doctor, just request a circulation test. And in this day and age, you have to advocate for yourself. You have to know what you need. And if you have high cholesterol, if you have a history of stroke, there's one test is what we call a carotid duplex scan. I think you said your dad had a clot in his carotid artery. The carotid artery is the main artery that sends blood to your head. If this artery gets blocked, you know, you get a stroke. So it's a very superficial artery, so it can't be checked. It's called a carotid duplex scan, the main scan for circulation test. So that is a test that you can have checked. It's you do it with what we call a Doppler study. Also, another way of checking for circulation is the longest arteries that we have are in our legs, and they can also be checked. Many of the HMOs now are requiring that you have circulation tests. It is kind of like a little window into your circulatory health, and it's called a peripheral arterial circulation test. They just put little cuffs on your ankles and your legs. I'm sure some of you probably had it, and it determines how well the blood is flowing to your lower extremities. So ask your doctors, especially if you have a history of high cholesterol, history of stroke. Some of you think you have peripheral neuropathy, and you really have circulation problems. and you can request that circulation test. It's called a duplex scan.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. Would the Lexi scan be the same, would be a circulation test also? Lexi scan. A Lexi scan, that is when they strap things to you and inject you. Instead of the treadmill, it's a alternative to the treadmill.
Oh, I see.
Situation. Yeah, so you're
Yeah.
not doing the treadmill because of
Right.
your immobility.
Yeah, you're talking about, we do the treadmill test. If your doctor thinks you have heart disease, then they put you on the treadmill.
Test, yeah.
And sometimes for some medical reasons, we're not able to walk on that treadmill. And so therefore, they will give you what is essentially is a medical exercise test. They strap you up and then they inject you with medicines, which will cause your body to think that it's exercising because it speeds up everything.
Right.
And so as a result, your heart speeds up and they monitor your heart. So your heart is speeding up just like you're exercising.
But that
So
is not a circulation?
It's a circulation test.
Okay.
It's basically, it's not a circulation, it's basically a test for your heart. Your EKG, when you have the treadmill study, that is basically a heart test. Now, it tells you about your exercise capacity, but it's basically a heart test. And they can do it with chemicals as well as have you on that treadmill.
Right. I have part B.
We down,
Salt.
just want to make sure, we down to a few minutes.
And I wanted to just hit on a couple of things really quick.
And then save a minute for me, I got another.
Okay, okay. We're gonna get
Go
to
ahead.
Okay, so your brain, eating sugar gives your brain a surge of feel-good with a chemical called dopamine. So that's why we're like, if you guys have seen that old commercial with the mouse on the wheel with the nicotine, that's how our brain gets with sugar. So, and also on sodas, a 12-ounce can of cola typically contains 32 grams of added sugar. Sports drinks, a 32-ounce sports drink can contain between 56 and 76 grams of sugar. And it's funny, Gatorade doesn't taste like it has all that sugar, but it does. So we want to keep away from the sports drinks and the sodas. Also, I looked up what do they use to make colas, Pepsi, Coke, brown? And they use ammonia. Yes, ammonia to make the brown caramel coloring in Pepsis and Coca-Colas, any of those brown sodas. So just think about it the next time, because I hear people, even family members, ooh, I'm craving a Pepsi. I'm craving a Coke. Well, you're craving ammonia. So if you think about it that way, your brain ought to say, nah, we'll move on to something else. But I want to just take this time to thank Sister Gilbert and Dr. Gilbert. And thank you guys so much for coming to the class, and I hope you enjoyed it. If we can really quickly get to Sister Hill's question.
I just wanted to speak on salt and no salt. You know, Prior used to say seasonings. So, because I'm not diagnosed with high blood pressure, but I believe I have the symptoms, because if I have things are too seasoned too well, I will get a headache afterwards. So I switched to no salt. I wanted to know, is that a good alternative, or is that just hype? These seasonings that say no salt.
They have some, and I use them. I have them in my cupboard. No salt herbs.
Right, it's
As seasoning, and they're good. Because it's onion and garlic, but no sodium. No sodium. And it enhances the flavor. And you can really get creative with your seasoning. There are seasonings out there where you don't have to buy something that is loaded with sodium. You know, that will enhance the taste of your food. It just means you're reading labels. And that's what we want you to do.
We have a few handouts if you guys want to take, and don't forget, take a piece of the tasty
We're gonna
bread.
sit it on the table.
Thank you, guys. Bishop Dowdy.
Deacon Booker, then we'll.
Oh, they're so wonderful.
I get to speak. So this, as we know, the flow code is everywhere. Flow code, flow code, flow code. The reason why I wanted to speak at this particular, we have Bishop Dowdy, Bishop White, Bishop Murray, Bishop Turner, Overseer Khan, Pastor Richardson. That's a lot of different churches that can take this information because it got recorded. This was great. As Bishop Turner said, he's good, he can eat what he wants, but everybody can't. And we all know somebody that needs to hear this. And so that's the whole purpose why the bishop, why the leadership put together the flow page so we can all share this. It's going to be there. We heard some good stuff. We're going to get to share with a whole bunch of people. So we got to really get used to that flow page. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just say, while Sister Gilbert, she's still working, listen. This was a pet, Dr. Gilbert. Dr. Gilbert told me last, I said, you know what, I was still trying to reach things, and we can do this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This you did President, super job, your team, this is blessed. And didn't you get what you need? Now you got choices, the more information you get, the better you can do. Just super job, just excellent job. And to you, for coming, I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate it, and it was worth it, huh?
Bishop, one last thing. On every workshop, there will be an evaluation that you can add to or ask any questions. Every workshop, there's an evaluation on the flow page. So it's at the bottom of the flow page.
Do you know where you're going now? Oh, sorry. Pull up the flow page, tell me, so you're good. You got a break now. I think you're good. Up until pulling it up.
Good. Then they told me, I forgot.
You got the flow page.